Blessings, everyone. I've been very inspired to do a message from the guides. This oracle deck is from James Van Praagh, who has been a very powerful mentor for me from the last 2 years and teacher. He has inspired me greatly on deepening my connection with spirit and being able to hear the guides and our loved ones on the other side. I've taken the animal communication course with James, and I can't say enough how much that it has changed my understanding and connection with spirit, and reminded me what a beautiful gift it is to be able to share that with others, especially everyone who is new to the journey or just needing encouragement. It's been amazing. So you can get his deck on Amazon or at vanpraagh.com. He's got a beautiful Facebook page, and there's a wonderful group of people on Monday nights. Kelly White and James Van Praagh have a show on Facebook, if you look it up, where they, and it costs nothing. They do it to help people bring some positivity into the world right now. So if you look it up on Facebook, as I said, it's a wonderful thing on Monday nights. Okay, I'd just like to say, first off, thank you to Source, Creator, for allowing me to bring a message for the highest good. And I ask that all the guides step forward today to allow me to bring a positive message to encourage others. Thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna shuffle. I don't have my little table today, so I'm shuffling on my knee. I know I keep saying I'm gonna work it out, and I will eventually. It's comfortable though, so I like the energy of this to be very organic. I'm not feeling like it matters much what's going on with all this, my couch. You could see my wall, sometimes my cat, because I feel like this is about spirit. This is about the message. Okay. Just gonna see what comes up. If any of the cards come out. Usually, whoops. Almost. Maybe that wasn't a message. They went, okay, this one is moved. I'm going to take this one. They're saying 2 today, so I'm going to take 2. Okay. See if they have any more that want to come up. This one. Okay. And the first message is accept struggles as lessons. The second one that came out is abundance is your right. And so the first message accepts struggles as lessons. And this is something that has been a big reminder recently. I know we just had a beautiful full moon, and there's been a lot of talk recently about everything like a fresh start, a new beginning, and that April is very powerful, and there's a lot in astronomy, astrologically, that's going on right now, and that does affect a lot of things that are going on as a whole on the planet. But they're actually reminding me of what I just went through, and so I'm going to use a little bit of a little personal. Sometimes that's the best way that I can bring things through when it comes to messages. Is they'll touch base on something recently maybe that I've experienced, so I can then understand what they're meaning, and which is a big deal, because one of the biggest things that I've learned on this journey is the more that we start to look at these lessons as experiencing things through many lenses, as many lenses as possible. Now, I know sometimes we have the idea that if we have a lesson and it comes up again, we haven't learned from that. And in one lens, that can be true. But the guides are showing me, and this is something that's come up before, that sometimes we experience something and we get through it, and it's been the right way, and we've healed from something, and then it comes up again, not because we didn't do it correctly, or we didn't heal the karma, or we didn't understand. It may be not even just to test us to see if we got it right, to give us a different perspective. Because to be of service, as many lenses as we can understand, because there's many different aspects to a lesson. I recently had an experience where I had to go get some biopsies done. And because of a history of cancer, they were very concerned. And I've been through so many health challenges that I've gotten to the point where I've had many different lenses, many different aspects, many different experiences of a particular lesson. So I've gotten to the point where I understand what the core of it is, but there's different views of it. And this time, I've been through it before, taught me a different aspect of it, which was that there was a lot of patience that goes on when we're going through some of the health challenges. Now, the last time it was very fast. I had a biopsy and they found cancer cells in my uterus, and it was taken right out, and it was a very fast situation. And I had some challenges with actual surgery, but at the end of it, I understood what the challenge was with my health. And this time, everything was very slow. It took weeks to be able to get in and get the actual biopsies, and then it took quite a bit to get the results. And so I understood a different lens of the same type of experience. And I believe what Spirit was showing me through it is, now you understand what it's like to deal with an illness and go right in the middle of it and have the challenge and heal from it. Now you also understand how to deal with the same illness and have to kind of be with your hands tied. And so when someone comes to you that's going through this, no matter what that is, you understand what it feels like to have the results and have the information right away and know where we stand with it. But now I also understand what it's like for someone who's going through that kind of doesn't. And so not only have I learned how to deal with an illness, but everything that goes with that and the many different perspectives of it. So when something comes up again, I always connect with my guides and Spirit, angels, and above all, God. And I ask, is this something I didn't heal? And usually they're very fast to tell me no. And that's when I know, will you help guide me then through the lesson? Not as a struggle, but help me see the different perspective that is needed from this. So I never stay in that space. And I encourage others to ask yourself this. Is this something that I maybe didn't heal the first time? Is there something still to learn from this? Obviously, if it's happening again, there's something else. And it's not always as hard as the first time. It's not always a struggle, because there'll be for some things that we get the first time that we have a lesson, and we go through it the second or third time very smoothly. But there might be some other aspect of it that we say, okay, this is the first time it was smooth sailing and I got through it and it was very clear and I held my ground where I needed to. But this time, it's testing my patience. I get it. I'm going to learn about patience with this now. And a lot of times, the struggle from the lesson isn't always the actual lesson itself. It's starting to see the aspects of ourselves, they're saying, that we might not have wanted to face. You know, we may have been a little scared, or we may feel anger welling up, and we don't want to deal with that. And so they're saying that accepting the lesson sometimes can be the easy part. Okay, I'm ill. Now what? But the part of the lesson is, what are the things that are going to come out through the journey that's sometimes difficult for us to want to accept? We don't want to think of ourselves as being scared, or we don't want to think of ourselves as being angry at something. And so in order to really heal and then be of service with it, they'll bring up sometimes the lesson many different ways. And so again, it's not always a karma that hasn't been finished. Sometimes it is. Sometimes they'll bring us something and they'll say, well, you were blindsided by this the first time and you didn't want to heal it or deal with it. You got to feel it to heal it. So we're going to give it to you in another way. And it's going to keep happening until we move through it. And so that's what they're kind of letting us know, that with this, it's a little complicated sometimes. It's not always just about karma, but sometimes if you're someone who is on the journey and you are a healer, or you're working with spirit, or you're counseling others, we're going to see many aspects of something. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we didn't heal it or we didn't get it the first time. We're just going to experience something that a lot of people are experiencing in this world right now. And a big one is loss and illness. Those two things right now are so prevalent. And there's so many different aspects of that Spirit is kind of encouraging those who are more open and walking the journey and wanting to help others through their space to experience things from many different sides. And so with the second one, abundance is your right. This goes with the manifest. And they're kind of just saying that this is going to be a simple one, a simple message today with this card. And it's interesting because they're reminding me of a video that a friend had shared with Eckhart Tolle, where he speaks beautifully about when we recognize the abundance around us at first, everything is, we see clearly the abundance is a natural flow of things. So when we think of that, we think of abundance in the sense of how beautiful our earth is and how many natural resources there are. How abundantly we are in our spirituality, how many different aspects of things we're learning every day. The abundance of moments that we get to experience directly when we're staying very present. And we look out the window and we can see all the beautiful birds singing. Or the abundance of amazing music that we can find on the internet and listen to. There's so many things when we think of abundance that we're always thinking of money or abundance of health or abundance of friends. And so it's very simple that once we start with the clarity and the centered being, that we don't have to ask and manifest. We begin to remember and recognize that we're in that space already. And so the more we recognize and the more we see, the more we know that it's all around us. It's kind of like they're giving me the example of when someone's learning to drive, and maybe as a passenger in the car, we're not paying attention to telephone poles and sidewalks all the time or other parked cars because we're driving and we're very aware and we've been through that. We're just kind of cruising up the street. But when you're with someone who's learning how to drive, and I know many parents out there have given their teenager a moment in the car that we try to teach them. And so they kind of move towards what they're focused on. And all of a sudden, as a passenger teaching a new driver, we recognize every telephone pole and every parked car and every curb that's in the area. And why is that? Because we've put our attention to that. And so this is what the guides are kind of trying to remind us with this message today, that abundance is your right. What they mean by that is when we notice what already is around us, it's not something that we have to manifest. It's not something we have to long for. It's when our focus shifts is when we feel that we're lacking. Now, I understand that's very difficult because someone who right now is struggling with food security or housing security, or maybe their health is not well, whatever those situations are that we find ourselves in, and we're saying, well, me just sitting around noticing all the food on the supermarket shelf isn't going to bring food into my home if I have food insecurity. And so, but what the universe is asking from us is that maybe we are having some of these things going on. But if you notice the things that you do have and the abundance of it, it kind of helps us get into that space where then we start to recognize how we can have the abundance of the things that we're not feeling secure about. Because it creates that space in us of gratitude, of peace, of well-being when we start to realize those things. Yes, food insecurity is a difficult challenge. I've been through that. But I also recognized that though I wasn't feeling secure with that, and maybe I didn't have the abundance of that, I had an abundance of good health at that time. And I have an abundance of people around me that loved me. And when I went for a walk, I seen the abundance of beauty that was outside in nature. And I felt grateful for that, because those things brought me peace. And in those moments of peace, I was able to sort out and figure out, remember, however you'd like to phrase that, how I could go about ending the food insecurity and getting myself into a financial situation where I could eat better. I was able to ask for help when I needed it, without any ego, without any loss of pride, simply understanding that there was an abundance that was available. And because of my gratitude and because of my joy about everything else that was okay in my life, that was fulfilling, including the abundance of self-love that we have. And that's so important when we have these challenges. And I'll use food insecurity again as one of them. When we focus on the things that are right within us, the other things become less out of reach and seem less than abundance. So, although is it going to make food appear on the table? No, it doesn't do that. That's not how it works. What it gives us is a clarity peace and awareness of what is, so that these things move easier and gentler into our space, so that when we make the motion to achieve something, like not having food insecurity, what does that take? We have to be employed, or we have to make some kind of garden so we can do that, or trade with people so we can have food. We can trade with them a skill set that we have, or something that we have abundance of. It's there. The land is abundant. We have the resources. But if we're not recognizing that, and we're in the negative space of I want, lack, we're not going to have the focus. We're not going to have the inner peace. We're not going to have that security within ourselves that everything we need, we have available to us, because we are abundant. It is our right. We have life. And in that beautiful life, and in that beautiful connection to source, and in that peaceful space, and the noticing of the beauty and abundance that's around us, that is what is there. That is what attracts. That is what comes into our space, because we cannot see anything else. It just is. And so this is the message that I'm getting today. I hope in some way this may inspire. Again, I understand that's not an easy thing to do. And there are a lot of people that I'm sure are not comfortable with that, and would disagree as far as the manifest and the abundance. But I invite you to just sit with that for a little bit, see how that feels, and try, at least try. Again, when we're in a good space, when we're feeling peaceful, when we notice the gifts around us already, the abundance, the beauty, the abundance in our hearts of love and self-love and self-worth, then these things become clear for us that we can achieve. And so with that, I love all my love. I love everyone. I'm grateful for letting me share this one. Has been a longer video again, so for the patience and understanding, I'm grateful. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.